This is one of those days New Orleans music fans wait for every year, the release of the Jazz Fest lineup. And this year it's another good one with something for everybody, including headliners Aerosmith, who will be making the band's first visit to Jazz Fest, as well as Aretha Franklin, Sting, Lionel Richie, Sheryl Crow, Smokey Robinson, and many, many more, as well as hundreds of local acts. And joining us now is Keith Spira, the music writer over at The Advocate. And this is a really great lineup, don't you think?
I do. I think it's really solid, especially if you're a fan of kind of Americana roots music, country music. Some really good, interesting artists there. Everybody from Lyle Lovett to Sturgill Simpson to Jason Isbell. These are all very acclaimed artists within that sort of Americana roots music genre.
And with the passing of Fats Domino, of course, there's going to be a Fats Domino tribute. The poster this year is again Fats Domino, which always makes it a Jillian seller. And what I found very interesting is Lionel Richie is coming to this Jazz Fest. He's the one who came on the Acura stage to replace Fats Domino in 2006 when he didn't perform that year.
It is kind of a full circle moment, you know, and I like the fact that Jerry Lee Lewis is going to be part of that Fats tribute. I mean, Jerry obviously was a contemporary of Fats, so to have him on the bill is really, really appropriate for that.
And you know, every year when you think the Jazz Fest can't get any better, Quint Davis and company always seem to pull it out.
Yeah, you know, they broaden their perspective of what is an acceptable act for Jazz Fest. You know, they used to have a much narrower view of the sort of appropriate acts for what they would have, and now they've broadened that and are able to bring in a lot more interesting bands. For instance, they never would have had Aerosmith, you know, 15 years ago. I mean, that wasn't going to happen. But now they consider Aerosmith part of the roster that's eligible for Jazz Fest.
Well, and if they're not a legacy band, I don't know who is.
Absolutely, at this point, yeah, for sure. You know, and it's interesting they're going to try again with Aretha Franklin. You know, she's backed out of 2 previous Jazz Fest bookings in 2009 and 2010. So they're basically entrusting her with a Saturday night headlining slot on the main Acura stage this year. So hopefully she makes it this time.
And you know, a lot of the naysayers always go, you know, the Jazz Fest isn't what it used to be. It doesn't have all the local performers and stuff. It has a ton of local performers. I mean, there are so many that are on the bill that, you know, maybe they just aren't looking at the full program.
Yeah, I mean, everyone tends to get distracted by the BNAs, the big name acts, and that's really just a handful of artists that are on top of the bill at the main stages. The bulk of the festival remains New Orleans and Louisiana centric. I mean, that's what gives the festival its identity. That's what sets it apart from Bonnaroo and Coachella and all these other major music festivals around the country. Those other festivals don't have all the local content that this one does. You know, does Jazz Fest have more visiting acts than they used to back in the day? Absolutely, but the core of the festival is still the local artists for sure.
And they do cover every genre of New Orleans music, from funk to jazz to R&B, I mean everything.
Yeah, and they're very representative of kind of the new movements in local music. You know, the Revivalists, the band from here, are now a national act. You know, they're on the festival. Tank and the Bangas, very creative R&B funk band. They're getting a lot of national acclaim. They're on the festival lineup. You know, Galactic obviously has kind of become a new New Orleans institution. They're featured prominently on the festival. Trombone Shorty will, again, I'm sure, close out the main Acura stage. He's a national artist from right here in Treme. So you've got a new crop of local artists that have stepped onto the national stage, along with some of the remaining legends like Irma Thomas, for instance, is back again, of course, this year. So it's a good balance, I think, of classic New Orleans artists, the newer New Orleans artists, and these acts from elsewhere.
And once again, we can't wait till Jazz Fest starts. All right, Keith, thank you very much.
It's going to be busy. You bet, my pleasure.
The 49th Annual New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival is set to begin on April 27th, the last weekend in April, and then the first weekend in May. Ends on May 6th, as always, at the New Orleans Fairgrounds.